Hi everyone, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are all over the world. I am so excited to be here. You are absolutely welcome. Thank you for everyone who is already live. Thank you very, 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 very much for being here. This is the 5th episode of Wise Words on Parenting. Wow, I'm so excited. I can't believe we started exactly 5 weeks ago and see where we are. So much to learn. I've made so many changes in my life already, and I'm really, 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 really excited. So tonight, this episode 5, is going to be very special. I have a lovely, lovely guest. Her name is Mrs Toritseju Oni. That's the short, okay? And she's a parent of 3 adult sons. But I'm going to ask her to introduce herself to you. However, for those who are joining us for the first time, my name is Bolanle Daniel Enang, and I am a family life enthusiast. I absolutely love families. I think that once we can get the family right, honestly, the society is much, much better for it. So tonight is going to be lots of fun. Are you ready? Welcome with me, Mrs. Toritseju Oni. Yeah.
Hello. Hello, everybody. How are you? I hope you are having fun. It's nice having been here. It's nice being in the studio. And I want to say thank you, Bolanle, for inviting me. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Auntie. Thank you so much, guys. It's the first time. Actually, this must be the second time we are. Okay, third time we're having a conversation. Second time I'm seeing you, and I'm so excited. Guys, the first time I spoke with Mrs. Oni, I was screaming. I'm like, we need you. We want you. I want you. So let me just quickly tell everybody the reason why we're doing this. So I believe very strongly that older people have a lot to teach us, both from their experiences, from their knowledge, the things they've done well and the things they haven't. So that's the reason why we have what is called Wise Words on Parenting. And I am really excited. I know that this woman right here in the studio with me is such a gift. And I'm sure you're going to learn a lot. So guys, please comment, let's know you are there. Once you come in, I can see Ronke James. Hi guys, just say hi, how are you? And then throw in your comments immediately. So Mrs. Oni, I think the best thing to do is please introduce yourself. Let everybody just know who you are.
Okay, I'm Toritseju Oni, and I am a child of God, first of all. Okay, I love the Lord. And I thank God for the salvation of my soul. I just want to thank God for that He saved me and He kept me. That's one thing I really thank God for. I'm also a mother of 3, and I am by profession an IT consultant. I manage IT projects and I train people, on IT. So right now, I freelance a bit on the training aspect, and that's where I am. But above all, I'm a mother, and I enjoy being a mother and a wife. Praise the Lord. Right. That's who I am.
Right. Hallelujah. And she's also a pastor, because the person who told me you must talk to her says she pastors my son. And I like her son, by the way. So I'm like, what? Are you serious? Okay, I need to meet her. You're a pastor, right?
Yes, I am.
I'm
actually an assistant pastor with the Redeemed Christian Church of God. So I'm an assistant pastor. Right. Yes. We pastor a parish, a small parish in Brandon, and that's where we are. Yeah.
Right. And you live here in South Africa, in Johannesburg. Yes,
so
Joburg people.
Yes, I do live here in South Africa.
Fantastic. Thank you, Auntie. So
Yeah.
many people are already saying hello. People are
Hi.
welcoming you. People are screaming hello, Mama Toju, and all of that. So tonight is really going to be cool. So,
Yeah.
so we're going to dive right into it because I know there's so much we
Mhm.
can learn from you. Guys, please, if you can hear me, let us know if we are, just put it in the chat box so we know if everything is fine and you can hear us loud and clear. That just helps us a lot. Okay, awesome. So, ma'am, how are you feeling in this season of life as a parent? You said you're a mother of three, but I think maybe it's nice to qualify, you know,
It's
your,
three.
I know you're a
Okay,
mother of adult sons.
a mother of three men. The first one is 27, the second one is 26, and the last one is 22. So
They're
I'll say
all
a
in
mother
their
of three
20s.
men. Hmm?
Wow. I said they're all in their 20s.
Yeah, they're all in their 20s. Two of them are
Wow.
out of school, they're working. The last one is still in university, so we're getting there. That's
Awesome. Auntie, yeah. Well done. Absolutely well done. Okay. So first question. So we're going to run through some of my questions. And then please, guys, if you've got questions for Mama Toju, you've got questions for Auntie Toju, for Pastor Toju, for Mrs. Toju, Mrs. Oni, we're going to call you anything we want.
everything.
Please throw it in the comment section, and we're just going to jump right into it. So, Auntie, in this season of your life as a parent, how are you feeling? What does this season feel like for you?
I feel awesome. I feel privileged. I feel blessed. I feel I feel just great, you know. My reason being that, you know, when I look back, I'm like, God, you love me so much. You gave me this opportunity, you gave me this privilege, because I see it as a very big privilege, you know. It's just a privilege that God has given. And I look at it from the angle of, wow, God, you've blessed me so much, you know. That's the way I feel about it. And sometimes when I look at the boys, I'm like, oh my goodness, what did I do to deserve this ones? You know, I actually feel that way. So right now I'm actually at an awesome stage where I'm like, God, thank you, you know, God, thank you for helping me up to this point, for seeing me through up to this point. I'm really, really happy. I thank God.
That's fantastic. And I believe you because I really respect the person who told me about you, and I respect what she says. She said to me, Bola, if you meet this woman, you really, really have a lot to be blessed and to gain just by listening to her. And I can see it already. Our first conversation was fantastic. It really, really was. Uh, okay. So, but Auntie, as a first-time mom, how did you feel? I'm sure there's a difference, but how did you feel?
A lot of difference. First of all, I felt afraid. I was scared. I was like, will I be able to take care of a baby? You know, um, you know, I felt like, is it really this? Did this one come out from me? You know, I felt like, hey, how am I going to get this guy through? And I was like, oh my goodness, am I going to succeed? You know, am I going to fail? You know, that was fear. Actually, I'll not lie to you. But one thing that I have learned is with God, with me and God, is that I'm like, look, Lord, this one, if I decide to do it on my own, I'm already a failure. So Lord, I'm just dropping myself on you, and I'm like, just help me. Just help me. But there was joy as well, okay? There was joy as well. Apart from the fear, there was joy as well. That, you mean, awesome, you know, beautiful. You know, you grew up playing with babies, dolls, and all of that. But this one is real life. It's not a doll, you know? So it's real life. And when I got to put that first one in my hand, you know, it was just about like from here to here. It was like, hey, my goodness, you mean this one came out of me? It was really, really awesome. It was an awesome experience. And I thank God for that experience. I do think, and I appreciate it.
Oh, sweet. And so I'm glad you said you were first afraid because I was wanting to have children myself, and I don't know if I've shared a lot about this, the fact that I battled with infertility. And
Okay.
when God eventually gave me children, both my kids are miracle babies. The doctors had said I couldn't, medically it was impossible for me to have a child. So when I had my first one, the entire lineage, the clan, the church, friends, everybody.
Everybody.
People are just all in tears, all
I can
I remember
imagine.
my church here, because I moved to Johannesburg. I mean, my church here, the first on the day, because I had elective Caesar. I mean, it was a precious baby. They were not going to allow me go into labor. It had to be an elective Caesar. They told me that. I was disappointed because I wanted to feel labor, but anyway, the doctor said, sorry, the next one we can try, not this one. But you know the funny thing, my church, what they had gone for Habitat for Humanity, to build for underprivileged people. Apparently, everybody was waiting because they knew about the operation. They're like, have you heard any news? Have you heard? After my pastor called them, Daniel, I said, hey, sorry, Daniel, I know you guys are those as baby come. Baby has come. Okay, how's this still? Baby has come. Everybody was relieved. Baby's here.
Praise God.
Everybody was more.
I had a very beautiful experience in the sense that all my babies were beautifully born. I didn't have issues. I never had problems. Sometimes while I was even carrying the pregnancy, I would forget that I'm pregnant, and I would want to do things that I normally do. I'm actually a very agile person. I'm very mobile. I'm very, very active, very, very active. So I just do things without remembering. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, okay. Or sometimes the baby just kind of feels that, hey, stop it, And I'm like, oh, okay. So it actually, for me, pregnancy was beautiful. It was quite easy.
Nice.
And that's one of the reasons why I say I thank God. When I look at my other friends and how they struggled, I'm like, Lord, you blessed me. So for me, it was really simple. And to the point for the two out of the three children, the first one I drove myself to the hospital. I was like, okay, like I just felt, I just saw the blood. And I was like, okay, my mom-in-law was with me, and I was like, Mommy, I saw this. And she's like, oh, okay. It was around 10 in the night. And then the next thing she said was, so how are we going to get to the my husband was not home. And she said, how are we going to get to the hospital if we are going? I said, I'm driving, of course. And she was like, really? I said, yes. She said, okay, let's go. I said, but Mom, I'm not feeling anything. She said, let us go. Since you are driving, let us go. So we went to the hospital. I just stayed in the hospital feeling cool and free, and wonderful until morning,
Wow. I think
I just really maybe around that 8 o'clock there in the morning, all of a sudden my water broke. And that was when the journey started. And I had already prayed to God that God should give me a painless delivery, because as a child of God, I've read about being a Hebrew woman, but I didn't even know what being a Hebrew woman was all about. I just prayed about it. And when I got into the labor ward, my mother-in-law was with me. And then for me, it was a very traumatic experience. Then I came and my mother-in-law said, oh, Jonia, you are very, very lazy. She said, I was very lazy. I said, Mom, I did it well. She said, you didn't do anything well. You were shouting. You shouldn't shout when you're happy.
But Auntie, you know what you're telling me? You know what I'm getting from this is for the people who are expecting, and we try to cover everyone. For those who are expecting, we're just trusting God for them that they will have that kind of grace and that kind of blessing and the ability to be able to give birth easily. Thank you for sharing your story on your
that was really very, very awesome, And then for the second baby, when that one was coming, it was like also I was home alone with somebody else. My husband was not home again at that point. So I was home alone with one of my little nieces. And then I asked and I said, I woke her up and said, get up, let's go to because I saw the water broke. And I said, get up, let's go to the hospital. And then she got up and she was going crazy. I said, no, go and take your bath first. I'll wait. And she went, she took her bath, and then we got ready and we got to the hospital. And this time around, I have felt one before. So now I know what I wanted.
You knew what to do. Yeah.
I didn't know, I said initially that the Hebrew woman, I wanted a Hebrew woman experience, but I didn't know what I was asking for. But by the second one, I now knew what I was asking for. So I was like, no, Lord, this is, what I want. And truly, by the time we got to the hospital and the gate was open for us, in an hour, I was already I'd already got my baby. And it just went out like that, So I thank God for that. It was really a beautiful experience. And I just give God praise. And the third one was the same. And I just give God praise.
Praise God. Oh. Wow. Auntie, thank you so much for sharing. I think it's an encouragement for those who are pregnant right now and are watching, and for the husbands that are watching. Just know that God does miracles and that there are great possibilities in God. Thank you, Auntie. Thank you. So many people are saying, wow, we need that grace, you know. I'm hearing wow. I'm hearing awesome. Okay. Auntie, now let's jump around. Let's right. Auntie, so
Hi there.
yeah, Tivoli is online. That's the person you introduced us. So I think we're going to fly into it now. Okay. So
Yeah.
I want to ask you because we've got about 40 minutes and I want us to pack because I know there's so much that you have on your inside. What were the principles that you based your child rearing parenting on? And was there any correlation between maybe your childhood and the principles on which you started parenting?
For me, there is a lot of uh, correlation between both, in the sense that, I was brought up in a Christian home, and I was given Christian values. So bringing my children up was not negotiable. I just had to do it the way I was taught how to, and that's the Christian way. The Bible says, "Train up your child the way he will go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it." And that was it. And then I had strict parents. My mom was a teacher. And when you say a teacher that whips, very well. So my mom was a teacher, my dad was a civil servant. And these are people that my father is a no-nonsense man. The day my father is going to beat you or give you, punishment, depending on whatever you do, your level of punishment for whatever you do, that yes, you're in for it, So for me, you don't allow a child, like the Bible also says that foolishness is in the heart of a child, and only Cain can bring it out. So we're brought up that way. And then we're also brought up with the whole neighborhood, in the sense that our neighbors, our friends' parents, our parents, our neighbors are also our checkers. Those things were there. So that helps me a lot when I have the boys. And it was like, okay, Lord help me. And they are boys, they're not girls. So and they are tougher, they want to try things, they want to jump here, they want to do this. So you really have to, I'll say, at home we were 5 boys actually, because I also became a man. We were all 5 boys, kind of, my husband, myself, and the 3 boys. So we're all boys. All of us are no girls in the house. I had to agree that there was no girl in the house. So, but at the same time, we did everything that girls do. The boys cook, they do everything. So God helped us all of us boys to grow up. So we all grew up together as boys, not as females. It's until we grew older that we started saying, okay, this one is a woman, this one is a man. That was when the lines were drawn. But when we were small, all of us were boys, were men, kind of. That was how it was. So my experience was basically Christian experience, basically. Yeah.
So did you have maybe like books? Please, guys, throw in your comments right now. Just start asking questions. Share. Let people know that we're online. We're online with Pastor Toju. She is amazing. She's got a lot to share with us today. So what I'm hearing you say is that you had boys and you had to just get to the level of, okay, we're all going to be this. There's no, I'm not a girl right now until they're older. So you sort of flowed into their space as a mom. Did you have books? Did you have people? Were there other things that sort of influenced how you raised your boys? And did you always want boys, or was that just God's blessing?
It was just God's blessing. Actually, my husband's side, they're mostly all men. And, they're a family of men. So they look for girls. Girls are a rare commodity in their family. So in a way, when you see 6 boys before you see 1 girl, that kind of environment. That was where we came from. There was like a boy environment. And for my mother-in-law, she also raised a lot of guys. She had 7 guys and just 2 females. So she raised a lot of guys. So she was a mother of boys, of men. So they were all men around. So that enabled us to be able to flow as well. So my husband also was like, he never really had girls around. For me, I wanted a boy and a girl. Okay, one, and then full stop. But we ended up having two boys, and by the time we're going to the third one, the question is, do we want one more or not? Left to my husband, who will have had only one child, but I was like, no, let's have at least two or three. And then it was like the second one would decide if the third one was coming or not. And by the time the second one came and the doctor was asking us, will you have another child? My husband was like, no. And I said, yes. So two of us were like simultaneously saying yes and no. The doctor started laughing. And he told my husband, he said, you're having one more. Don't worry about it. Since she said yes, you would definitely have one more. But it took my husband 4 years. He was trying to convince me within that 4 years. Don't you think this two is enough? Don't you think this two is enough? But eventually, and I told him, I said, look, I want one more. I like for a girl, but if it's not a girl, I'll just take it that that's what God wanted for me. And we bless God.
Yeah.
God is a wonderful, beautiful guy. The longest in the house right now. So we're good.
So unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to ask you the difference of your experiences in raising either a boy or a girl, because yours is just boys.
Oh,
so it's fine. Well, it's not unfortunate. We're going to use that. How? Okay, so let's go to one of the questions that I have here. What worked for you as a parent? What do you think has worked for you? Because I hear you have a really fantastic relationship with your kids. Is that true? And if it is, what has worked for you then?
Actually, before I got married, I attended a few marriage seminars. I attended a few home seminars. Like they would. I was interested in knowing what I was going into. I was interested in knowing what to expect when I get married. So at the end, one of those seminars, I was able to tell myself and say, look, my home will be a haven for my family. A haven, I mean by a place where they could go and come home and feel free. You go out there, you do a lot of things happen to you out there. But when you come home, home is home. Home should be a place where you are happy to be. It shouldn't be a place where you are afraid to be, And while working early in my life, I see a lot of men in the office. When we're closing in the office, some of them are not ready to go home. They want to sit down at home at the office and not going home. And I'm like, don't you want to go home? Isn't your wife waiting for you? And they're like, look, I'm not ready. By the time I get home, she must be sleeping. And I'm like, what kind of a home is that? So for me at that time, I felt, no, that shouldn't be my home. I should be rushing home. My husband should be rushing home, not going to a home where we are afraid to get to, I don't know the kind of homes they had. So for me, I'm like, no, I made up my mind. I said, no, my husband will not be like this. He will be happy to come home. And that means that you're going to make the home happy for him. And the children also must be happy to come home. They shouldn't be children that go out there and stay there forever. Home should be home for them. It should be a place where they can say anything, they can do anything, they can, within the concepts of home, they can know that, look, no matter what happens to me out there, I have somebody at home that will help me out. It should be a place of help, a place of support, So I made up my mind, and that really worked for us. It did work for us. It worked a lot. So the home is
okay. So Auntie, tell me,
yeah.
I'm sorry to have interrupted you there. I thought you were done.
No, I'm done now.
Okay, so, Mrs. Oni, please tell me, because that's a very important point. What did you practically do to make sure that your home became a haven for you, your husband, and of course, your children? And guys, please ask our questions. I don't see your questions coming. Yeah. Please,
first of
this
all,
woman has a lot.
I try to make the home tension-free. Tension-free as in not a quarrel environment, not constantly looking for trouble, not constantly fighting, try and contain whatever happens between my husband and myself away from the children, and trying to manage it in such a way that we don't get to the point where we're at loggerheads with one another. That's one. Another thing also that I did is to make the home comfortable, in the sense that I'm an IT person, so it made it easy for me to be able to provide a PC for the kids. They could play games at home. They could watch comics at home. Like I had things to entertain them at home. So they don't really have to go out there for entertainment, And then also, if they had to play outside and play football, they are playing within the confines of their home. So it's like everything they needed to be who they want to be was around them, and all of it within the confines of the Word of God. There are times when they have to go to camp, where they have to go to children's camp, where they have to go to, normally yearly in the Redeemed Christian Church of God, we have camps. So they go to the school, they go to the camps, they have to be in church. When they're in church, they're in the children's department. They have friends in church, who sometimes come home and who sometimes they go to. But there are parents that we know that we are all growing up together, we're all raising children together with the same values, with the same concept of looking up to where we want our kids to be. So we needed to be sure that the people around our kids are the people we want to be there. And I, for one, was willing to take away anybody that would corrupt my kids. I didn't want that. So that for me really worked.
That's powerful. So you are very intentional about who children, and I keep hearing this thing. Honestly, it keeps coming through about surrounding your children with the right people and making sure that they're not surrounded with people that you do not approve of. Okay, this question is coming up, and I'm going to take it immediately because that also speaks to a question in chatting with you. Did you have your children here in South Africa, or did you relocate? And how was that? And how did you handle your boys during their teenage years?
Okay,
that's a question for all of you.
Yeah, I had all of them in Nigeria, and then we relocated. My eldest, when we came to South Africa, my eldest was, I think he was about 10, 11, thereabouts. I think it was about 10, 11 when we came into South Africa, and he was going into grade 9, The other one was, I think about 10, 9, 10, thereabout, I guess. 9, 10. I'm not sure again. I think about 9, 10 when we came in. One was 9, the other one was 10, And the youngest was 7, thereabout. I think that's about the age they were in. So when we came into SA, and we've been here since then. What I did then when we're coming in Nigeria, it was easier. You have your relatives around you. You have people that you love, people that love you, people that are relatives, that are friends all around you. But here it wasn't that way. We had to make friends afresh. We had to get to know more people from church and all of that. So the very first thing we did was to put them within the church setting. That's number one. And then also to be able to develop them from the church environment. And then secondly, I had to make sure that we live in an environment where we have less influence of other children that are not the way I want them to be, because I grew up in a place where I grew up in Surulere, if you know, and that environment was quite conducive for kids. We're not far away from school. We're not far away from schools. Not far away from home. We walk to school. We walk back. Because we're in the same confines. So I was looking for a place for them we were looking for a place for them where they could go and come while we're in the office. If we drop them off at school, they can always walk home. And we're also looking for schools that do not have, they don't have a record of hooliganism. We did look for that. So all of those was helping us, because I'm like, look, these are boys. And if you don't be intentional about where you put them, you will have a problem. So for me, as teenage boys, I try to put them in an environment where they would excel, they would thrive. Another thing also that I believed in strongly is that remove obstacles from your children. It's like you don't tell your child, don't steal, and then you fill a cookie jar with cookies, transparently, and you put it on the table and say, don't touch it. When you know that a child would naturally want to eat that cookie, it's like putting temptation in front of the child to be tempted. You understand what I mean? So basically, such things I try to remove from them. If you want cookie, I give you cookie enough to eat and be full. So when you see cookie on the table, you don't touch it. You understand what I mean?
Right.
You keep the child away from you. You don't give the child the cookie and then you are tempting the child with the cookie. So I don't do that. I try to make sure that I give you enough cookie to fill your tummy, and I tell you the rest is no more yours. And you get to respect that. So for me, and that also happened for a lot of other things, like try to remove the temptation from them, try to make them understand why this is not a no-go area, try to explain to each and every one of them, like, look, I love you, and this is it. And then we also make sure that they do not at any point in time feel that they are not loved. Even when I'm reprimanding, and I used to really, really reprimand. Most people think that I'm very strict. If you ask the average person, they'll say, she's too hard. And my kids will laugh because they're like,
Really?
but to them, they're like, other people say, your mom, she's so strict. And then the boys would be like, really? I don't say it, because they know the right from the wrong. You understand what I mean? It's like, you know the right from the wrong. You don't bring a pencil home that I didn't buy for you. What is it doing in your bag? You understand me? I'll just tell you straight, that's stealing. Are you a thief now? That kind of a thing. So we had to define what thievery is and what thievery is not. So if you're bringing something home that is not yours, I don't entertain that. You have to take it back. If you mistakenly take it back. So we had to agree on what comes in and what goes out, and that helped us a lot. And I explain, we talk. I'm like, no, that is not right. And then sometimes, as they were growing older, also, I was also asking for their opinion, especially when they got to the teenage years. I'm like, okay, what did you feel when you were doing this? Let me hear you. Let me feel you. Let me hear what you're trying to do. And then so that I can know whether I'm looking at it from another angle and you are looking at it from this angle. And most of the time when they talk, I take sense in what they say. I say, you're right, but A, B, C, D still needs to be considered. And they also grew up thinking like that. It's like, okay, everything is not always straight. Sometimes I may do this because this is the way I felt at that time, but I may not necessarily be right. So we end up understanding each other, to the point where they go to church because they want to go. They don't go to church because they have to go. You understand me?
Wow.
We get to that point where they love doing it. I don't have to push them. They just do it because they love it. And that's because I made them love going to church. I made church, interesting for them. I made the word of God also. We made the word of God also interesting for them in the sense that we will sit down together. We will say, okay, you read the Bible passage. Tell us what you understand by it. And you will tell us, all of us will laugh. Sometimes, say, oh, no, but mommy, that's not it. And I've had them correct me. And that also, you can imagine the children you bring up and all of a sudden they are quoting scriptures for you and saying, hey, mommy, the Bible says, you get to the point and sit up again and like, okay, now I'm in for it. So we get to that point where they now tell us, and like, no, daddy, mommy, the Bible says, once it says the Bible, so all of us know that, no, now we have to respect, So basically, we all had a checkpoint, and that helped us a lot. It helped us a lot. And then when I see people do things, sometimes I make them understand, why do you think this person does this? Why do you think this thing is happening? So we discuss, and that helped us a lot throughout the teenage years. We really did that.
Well, trust me, man, loads of questions are coming in and we're going to attack them. But if somebody's asking about our connection, please let me know if our connection is right, is okay, and it's working, and you're listening loud and clear. So this is my twin. We went to the same high school, and I told her once she comes in, we went to the same high school, born on the same day, same year. I told her I was going to shout out to her. So shout out to you, girl. All right. So we've got some questions here, quite a number. How did you teach your children to exercise restraint with the cookie jar, even when they are not full of cookies? Because I'm hearing you talk a lot about boundaries and giving them space, access, which speaks to what IDNang actually said when it came up on 2 episodes ago. It talked about creating space, but also making sure that there are boundaries. So how did you do this? This is a question. There's another one coming. There's so much flowing. Auntie, we have to attack quick. Like 5 questions are waiting.
So the bit there is this, I give you food to eat. You be full. You eat and be full. And basically what I try to do is I know what they can eat, their quantity that they can have, and I give to them. And if this cookie is just a snack, if it's just a snack, it's like, look, we have 6 here. We're going to eat 3. We're not eating more than 3. We'll eat 3 later. You understand what I mean? And then we can everybody understands that we have to share 3. So we share the 3. Another thing that I was also doing for them is that sometimes I was also using it as a form of punishment. In the sense that, I was using it as a form of punishment. Instead of beating them or something, you do something and I feel is wrong. And I'm like, look, you're not getting cookies, or you're not getting chocolates, or you're not, understand what I mean? And I could remember one time, a long time ago, one of my boys, let me give this example once. And, boys are always, children are always full funny things. And one day, this little boy of mine, I always say this, and we say it among ourselves and we laugh. We call him the dramatic artist, the one in the middle. And then one day he was wounded. He wasn't wounded. He was just telling me there was something wrong with his leg. He was walking like, on pintos, like, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? It's paining me. It's paining me. What's wrong with? Why is this leg paining you? I said, okay, let me look at the leg. He didn't allow me to look at the leg. Mommy, it's paining. It's hurting. I said, let's see where the hurt is coming from. He didn't allow me to touch it. I tried to touch it. He didn't. I said, initially, I'm like, no, this guy is joking, And then later, I was like, but why would this thing pain him so much? It's not looking swollen, Then I started feeling like, look, maybe I'm taking him for granted. So when he went to sleep, I touched that leg while he was sleeping, and this boy flinched. So when he flinched, I'm like, no, something is wrong with this leg. But I don't see anything wrong in this leg. So I went to God in prayers, like I always do. So I just went to pray, and I'm like, Lord, what's wrong with this boy's leg? I don't understand. I can't see anything. But even while he's sleeping, he's flinching. You understand? And then the next thing, the Spirit just told me that leg there's nothing wrong with that leg. And I'm like, why isn't there anything wrong? I said, but there's this flinching even while sleeping. He says, there's nothing wrong with that leg. I heard clearly. I said, so what do I do now? If there's nothing wrong, and he's flinching, how do I know? All of a sudden, this idea just came, and I went to the chocolate pack and I brought it out. And I said, okay, you here. He was already there. Mommy, I want chocolate. I said, no, you can't have chocolate. Your leg is hurting. When your leg hurts, you can't eat chocolate, He said, no. I said, you cannot eat chocolate. Your leg is hurting. The rest of us that are going to eat chocolate will eat chocolate. Your leg is hurting. Mommy, my leg is not hurting. I said, no, your leg is hurting. Mommy, my leg is, I said, your leg is hurting. Can't you see? You can't put it down. He said, see, Mommy, I'm putting it down now. See. And then you can see the same leg that he has been printing up. He was not putting it down because of chocolate. I said, no, let me see. I'm not convinced. I said, but why are you saying it was hurting? He said, no, it wasn't hurting. I'm just joking. I said, since yesterday till today, you're just joking.
Yeah. So you have a will cutting through. I said,
So in a way, at the end of the day, I got to find out that, oh my goodness, this one, I have to be careful with him. You don't treat this one the way you treat the other. You just have to be able to, to discern, spirit of discernment. So and then sometimes again, when they've done something wrong, I'm like, no, you're not going to eat out of this cookie. You're going to watch us finish it. And we'll finish it right there in front of you. We are serious. We are serious. The next time you come back, you know that this is what. No, sometimes we do that. We finish it in front of you. You know that, no, you've crossed the limits. You've crossed the line. So next time you don't cross the line. And it worked for us. I am saying it worked for us, at that time. This was when they're the ages of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, And once that boundary has been set, we didn't have to set boundaries anymore. You understand me?
Right. And that throws me into, and I'm going to ask you that, but I want to pick people's questions about phases and the different, what you should be like as a parent in the different phases of your children's lives. I want to know what you think about like the beginning, foundation, then teenagers. And I think today is really good because we're focusing a lot on this. Now, somebody asked this, and I've got another two, something about sex and then agreement. So, but let's quickly handle this one. How did you handle peer pressure as they grew up?
Actually, I try to make them understand that you have to define yourself. If you do not define yourself, everybody will define you. So the question is, who are you? You understand me? So helping them to find out who they really are. It's like, if you cannot take a stand, people will push you wherever they want to push you to. So you have to learn to take a stand. You have to tell them who you really are. Don't allow them to push you anyhow. So that helps us to be able to manage the peer pressure. You understand me? Like, if somebody is telling you to do what you don't want to do, why must you do it? Do you want to do it? No. So why must you do it? So we discuss it, we talk about it. And I remember one time that one of my sons came and he was like, Mommy, this guy is stressing my life, I said, then deal with him. And these are the same children that I always tell them and say, don't fight in school, no fighting. If your principal or your teacher reports you are in trouble, you'll get it from me. Because same thing, my mom, the way my mom brought us up was like, if you go out there and mess up and somebody reprimands you, just be happy that they reprimanded you and the person never came back home to report. Because if the person reprimanded you, take it there and just forget it. But once the person comes back home to report, or you come back home and you open your mouth and tell my mom, this person did this, this, this. The first thing is, how come that person is doing that? What did you do? You know? So you now have double jeopardy. You are being reprimanded twice. That person will reprimand you, and your mom will reprimand you again. So that was already there. So I always make them understand that, look, if you disgrace me out there, you come back home to meet me. And they saw it that way. They at the end of the day, they were also struggling. They also struggled. I will not lie to you, which maybe I would say that's another place where we also missed it a bit. You know, we were hard, and they struggled too, until they started growing better, and we started now seeing how to manage and repair the problems that we caused as well, because I would say we caused a few problems, you know, in the sense that they knew the boundaries. They were also hurting in certain areas. They were also like, look, mommy, don't get us, you know. And after they got up to certain age, and I felt that, look, they're now feeling that we don't get them. We needed to change our tactics. We now had to change the way we relate with them, try to start and get them more, try to make them understand that we get you. It's just that, you know, we have to go through this route first. And when we started getting each other, we even became more friends, you know, we became closer. That helped us a lot. That really helped us a lot. So with that kind of a relationship, you find out that for different faces, the grace is there. You know, at a point, you need to be very stern. After a while, once they understand the sternness, you then have to release your hands, you know, allow them to breathe, you know, and get better and better. In a way, there's two school of thoughts to this. Some people will say you were too strict with them then, you know. That's why perhaps some people say maybe that's why sometimes they are too respectful. You understand what I mean? And I'm like, no, I don't agree that they are too respectful. I believe that they are respectful, yes, because that's what they should be. But they should get to a point where they should also say no to an adult if it needs to be, if there's a need for it. You shouldn't say because the person is an adult, then she can just push you anyhow, you know? You still have to be able to say respectfully to an adult, no. You understand me? So we got to that point now where we're trying to tell ourselves, no, you still have to respectfully tell your boss, no, you are going in the wrong way. Or tell your boss, I can't do that, I'm sorry, you know? You're not being pushed around because you are gentle, or you're not being pushed around because you are accommodating. You're not being pushed around because your parents have taught you to respect elders. You understand what I mean? So we really now have to balance it up. And I believe we are getting past that stage where we're really, really balancing things up. So we really had to change along the line as we're going. Yeah, that's what we had to do.
Wow, and see, I like it that you touched on things that you wished you did better. But let me take this question because that's so. Before we talk about, there's a big one about conversations about sex, but this one, Funke says, are you always in agreement with your spouse when you discipline your children? Because clearly, I mean, you've touched on they felt that you didn't get them at a point, you had to change tactics. But in terms of you and your husband, what do you think?
Sometimes not always. Sometimes not always. But I took I always take the chance not to disagree in front of him, in front of the children, disagree with him in front of the children. We may go back indoors and I'll say, that thing you said, this is what I feel could happen, you know, or that thing you did, this is what I feel could happen, you know. Even that sometimes when he does something to them and I'm not happy about it, but I support him, you know. Sometimes I'm like, I support, and then behind I go behind and I say, honey, that thing, please don't let's go that route. Or sometimes, you know, he also comes to me later and say, don't let's go that route. Or you are doing this to the boys. This is what, you know, like he's a man, I'm a woman. So if I do some things, you know, he could always come back and say, no, this can always backfire. Don't let's go there. So we had to actually respect the fact that in front of the children we show a front, but behind we can then discuss and say, okay, let's see how to manage this. I give my opinion, he gives his, and then we'll take it from there. But basically, we try not to disagree in front of the children. We try not to. Now, I'm the one that is more vocal. My husband is not very vocal. He's not too vocal, but I'm the one that is vocal. I will always, and I'm somebody that my no is my no. When I say no is no. When I say sometimes I try to, I'm too hard, you know, even on myself, you know. So sometimes I have to learn to soften up as well, you know, learn to come down. If I have to live with this, let me just come down, let me try and see the other person's point of view. So one had to get to the point where you have to really look at the other person's point of view as well. So we God has helped us so far. We've missed it along the line as well. Sometimes where we haven't done it right, maybe what we thought was right was wrong, maybe where we felt, do it this way, and the child is looking like, look, but it's not working for me, But now they can talk. So the fact that they can open their mouth and talk has been a good thing. And we're talking now. We're talking really, really nicely.
I like what you're doing, Auntie. What you're saying to us now is you're not saying you always got it right, but you're saying that now, almost like you're growing with your boys.
Yeah.
What they, yeah, I like that. Okay, Auntie. So in terms of growing with them, this question is coming up. This one, how did you have conversations about sex?
Yeah, that one, I had to do it in such a way that I told them that, look, your body is your body and it's not something to be ashamed of. Okay. And that I taught them from the beginning, that your body is your body and it's not something to be ashamed of. There's no difference between.
Sorry, Auntie, what age?
Sir.
What age? What age is the beginning?
As they were getting to their teenage years, as they were getting to their teenage years. Actually, when they were small, boys have a way of filling themselves up. They have a way of touching themselves in parts, playing with it because of the softness of that part and all of that. So when they were younger and they were touching those parts, I always make them understand that it's not a toy. Okay. And that for me is a plus, because when you do that, you are making them understand that you don't fondle yourself, that kind of a thing. So for me, I always make them understand that it's not a toy. It's a part of your body for a particular purpose. So don't toy with it, And then as they were growing up, we were now, talking to one another, make them understand that, look, these feelings are real. Like you wake up in the morning and they're standing tall in front of you and they're like, ish. I'm like, no, there's nothing to be ashamed. I try to absorb it and say, look, there's nothing to be ashamed of, You stand tall in front of me. When you wake up, it happens. It's natural, We try to make them understand that these things are natural. But then at the same time, when there are guests in the house, be sure you sort yourself out. You understand what I mean? So basically, we made them be a little bit aware of themselves. And I cannot promise you that I know everything that my children do. I can't say that. I always tell them that the only child you trust is the one in your womb. You don't know where they've been to. You don't know what they're doing. The child you put at your back, that you are backing, you can say, this child is too small. He cannot steal something from somebody. And meanwhile, as you are walking, he has already pulled somebody's hair tie behind you back. You didn't know. While you're having the baby at your back. You understand what I mean? And then somebody is saying, your child stole my thing. And you're saying, this small child, and you are fighting. And you don't know what that child has actually done. You understand me? So for me, I've always told them that, look, the only child I trust though is the one that's still inside my womb. As soon as you come out like this, I don't trust you anymore. You can do and don't do. But at the same time, there's a level of trust. You understand? What I make them understand, I love you and I trust you to a level, but I don't know what you do behind my back. And there have been times when I've been proved right. Like there have been times when I see them among themselves and I'm like, okay, this one is not my conversation. I move away. You understand? And give them that privacy to talk among themselves. But what I know is that, look, there's nothing, somehow it just comes back to us, because they're also free. Somehow the thing just comes back to us and they ask and we answer. And we answer honestly. We try not to tell them things that are not there. We just say honest. As long as best as their age could do. It says, how do you draw the line between their parents?
Yeah, Auntie, please come in a bit more into the studio. Move in a bit more so that you're not out.
Okay. All right. Oh, all right. Okay. Yeah. Let me see. Okay. Am I more now?
Perfect. Super perfect. Yes.
Okay.
So how do you draw the line between being their parents and also being friendly enough for them to be open to you? Because what we're hearing a lot today is you gave boundaries, but you also created a safe haven, and also you allow, as they grew older, whatever they allowed you to hear, you went to it. Whatever wasn't yours, you respected yourself. But how did you draw the line? And when did you become friendly? Because that's another question. When did you become friendly?
I started getting friendlier as we were getting older. As they were getting to their upper teens, I was getting friendlier. You understand what I mean? So as they were getting to their upper teens, I was getting friendlier and friendlier and friendlier. So we were getting friendlier and friendlier. And now we're even more friendly. You understand? And there are some times when I talk to them, I'll say, look, I'm talking to you today, not as your mother, but I'm talking to you as your pastor. You understand what I mean? That sometimes I say things like that to them. I say, this one, I'm not talking to you as your mom. I'm talking to you as your pastor. So hear this from your pastor. This is what the word of God is saying. You understand what I mean? And that sometimes when I say this one now, I'm talking to you as your mother. So this is what, as your mother, my thoughts are this. And that again, I do for them because I feel that as your pastor, there are certain principles that I need to let you know. There are certain things you have to understand in the word of God. And with that, I can say that to anyone that is a child of God. You understand what I mean? Like it's something, when I say I'm talking to you as your pastor, I'm talking to you because this advice that I'm giving you, I'm giving it to others as well. You understand me? Then when I say I'm talking to you as your mother, now I'm telling you, now I have a personal interest. You understand what I mean? Now I have a personal interest. So I'm talking to you now as your mom. So this is my feelings as your mom, or this is what I think as your mother. So basically, one has to get to the point where they understand. And over the years, because they also know who you are, and they are seeing you, and they can see the support you give, they can see the love you show, they can see the sincerity in your heart, they can see how well you take care of them as well. All of those things come together to give a holistic thought line or a holistic behavior for them as well. So right now we get to the point where sometimes even now sometimes I shy away from saying things too personal to them. But there's sometimes when I make them understand that, look, boys, you are wonderful boys, you're handsome boys. Girls out there will look at you, you know. If I'm a girl, I'll look at you, you know, that kind of a thing. Sometimes when we say that one, they'll say, mommy, no, I say, let's talk the truth. Let's say it out, you know. Yeah, fine boys, let's say it. So basically, and that makes them also feel comfortable. They dress up and I'm saying, oh boy, you are looking so good, you know. Sometimes they dress, I say, this one is not it. How did you do this one and this one together? How do you do that? You know? And then they're like, no, isn't it? Go and do it again. And these days, even I dress and they say, mommy, don't do it like this. So we are now getting to the point where we are all now becoming, you know, saying it to ourselves. I dress up sometimes and they're like, and sometimes I dress and I'm like, don't I look too small, too young, or don't I look too old? They say, no, some say, mom, you are looking too old. Some say, mom, you are looking young, you know, and they balance it up for me. They kind of say, okay. Sometimes they even go to the shops and I see this thing, I like it, I think it will be good for you. And they buy and they bring it and I say, oh, thank you. You know, and I wear, you know, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is lovely. Sometimes I like it. Oh, thank God, my son bought it for me. I feel happy about that. But what I'm trying to say here is we've gotten over the years to understand ourselves better. Right. You understand, with the boys, and I know that someday they're going to go, and I thank God for that. I'm just like, enjoy it while it lasts, you know, enjoy it while it lasts. When the separation, and I'm also somebody that I kind of prepare myself for that separation. I kind of prepare myself for the fact that, you know, they will marry and go, and you know, I'll still be here with my husband one way or the other. So I've already prepared myself for that. That look, at a point, I will not be as important to them as I am now, you know, and I know that would definitely happen. It's not something that you are going to, it's not rocket science. It's something you just have to understand. Yeah, you have to understand as a mother. And one of the things that I always say is that I also married their father. She was somebody's mother. So somebody's son. So somebody's going to marry my son and everything is going to be fine. So, but basically, the issue, the major thing here is all of us understanding ourselves from the beginning and getting to the point of help. I've had time when I'll tell them and say, please guys, I need help. Come and help me in this area. And they will come in and see what to do. You know, sometimes I'll say, guys, I've been crying for help. Nobody's answering me, you know. And you know, when I say, we all get to that point where I'm not too shy to say I need their help. I'm not too shy to be vulnerable in front of them. I'm not too shy, you know. I'm not shy about that. I'm like, sometimes I'm like, look, guys, I need help. And they will come in and they would help me. You know, and that I have enjoyed their support so much. So why shouldn't I support? You know?
Fantastic. And so this is really great conversation. Please, guys, if you have any more comments, we just have a few minutes left. Please throw it in quickly. I've got one or two to ask you. So, Auntie, this is a quick one. What do we put in the foundation stage? What should we put in the teenage stage? And what do we put in in their adulthood?
In the foundation stage, I'll say you put in the
Did you
principles.
hear me?
Yeah, I said, you said what? From what I heard you say, what do we put in the foundation stage? What do we put in the medium stage and
Yes.
then in the adult stage? You see, at the
Yes.
foundation stage, I believe the best thing to do is to put the principles in place. Give them the word of God, give them direct, tell them this is the go area, this is the no-go area. You don't do this, you do this, you don't do that, you do that. You put all of that in place, You don't shout at your brother, you don't fight, you don't this, you don't, you put all of those things in place, while they are younger. And as they grow older, you now start building on those things and monitoring it, and then by the time they're older again, you now start helping them to understand why you did what you did, so that they can then appreciate it better. So sometimes
Right.
you need to do that. You just need to help them to understand where you're coming from as well. And I always we always make them understand also that, look, nobody goes to school to learn how to be a parent. Okay, nobody goes to school to go out to learn how to be a parent. We especially the first one. I always tell him that he's the guinea pig. He was the one that we used as the practice before the others came. And the last one, I always tell that one and say, because your brothers are up, you always see yourself as if you are the best of the pack, that kind of a thing. But the fact is this: nobody is a ready-made parent. We all learn. We are growing into it. We're growing little by little, and that's again helps us to be able to help them. That I feel, helps us to help.
Okay. So, Auntie, give me 3 tips, your top 3 tips that you think that this generation needs to hear. What you would like to tell us as parents.
Okay, I want to say that let me divide it into 3 as well. Let me divide it into 3. I'll say for those that are just starting, like for example, for those that are just starting, I would say build yourself with the principles of God. Allow God to help you. You understand me? And before you marry, pray that God will prepare you for your husband and will prepare your husband for you, so that you can be who God wants you to be. These children we are caretaking them, okay? And because we are caretaking them for God, we don't have exclusive rights over them. The only one that has exclusive right over these children is God. So you are supposed to now look for those principles that you're going to use in building them up at that stage. You understand what I mean? And then, as they move from that stage to another stage, you have to now start helping them to understand why those principles are there. And then finally, as they're getting older and getting ready to get out of the house, you have to start teaching them how to apply those principles in their lives, apply those principles, in whatever they do, so that they can also pass it on to their children. So for me, I believe that we have to learn for ourselves first, then pass it on to our children, give them the basics, and then monitor them, build on it, and then later help them to be able to live it. So if we can do that, it will help us a lot, I believe.
Okay. So you're saying foundation, put the principles in, then in their teenage years, monitor them. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
And then build on as you keep going. And in your conversation, another thing I picked up is almost give yourself grace. Know that you are growing. Nobody knows it all. And wherever you've made a mistake, also acknowledge it and say, I made a mistake here and I'm sorry. Because now you said there are things that you regret or things that you think you shouldn't have done. Do you want to expound on that? How did that affect your kids? Did that make them feel better, when you and your husband shared? That's my last question.
Yeah, when we eventually agreed that, look, maybe we've been too harsh on you in this area, but it was needed at the time, they really appreciate the fact that we could accept that we were wrong, in certain areas. And I also made them understand that, look, I'm also a first-time parent with you guys. I've never had one before that I kept somewhere in one world and then came back to this world and started living another life. So I'm also learning. So parents are allowed to make mistakes. If children are allowed to make mistakes, parents are also allowed to make mistakes. So we just have to love each other and forgive each other. That's what I think.
Right. Wow. Okay. And so your final word to your 25-year-old self, your 35-year-old self, and your 45-year-old self, what would you tell your 25-year-old self today?
I'll tell my 25-year-old self to not to give up, not at least to know more about the word of God, to help her, have a good
Or
foundation for
him, because there are guys watching.
her or him. Yeah, whoever, whether it's a guy or a girl. For your 25-year-old self, get your principles right. Define yourself. Know who you are. That's the first one. Then by the time you are getting to your 35, that's where the children are growing. At that point, there's a lot of, between 35 and 45, you see that there's a lot of needs in the house, a lot of struggling to make the ends meet and all of that, children's school fees, all of those things. Within those period, learn to take each step at a time, each stride, as it comes. Don't let it overwhelm you. And then by the time you are getting older than that, learn to enjoy your children as well. Let them pamper you a little bit. Let them minister to you. Let them love you too. Give them a chance to love you, I would say.
Wow. It's 1 hour. Can you believe it? You have been amazing, guys, right? Hasn't this just been super? I've just enjoyed myself today. I've learned so much from you, Ma.
Thank
So
you for
much. And
having me.
I've learned so much from you, learned how to have the right conversations, learned that creates my home, let my home be a haven for my children, allow them to enjoy our home, allow my husband to enjoy our home. And I'm also learning that it's okay, give yourself grace. Um, Allow yourself to just enjoy this journey. Nobody has done this before. We're all on a journey, and that's why we have people like you, Matt, to just speak into our lives to help us to do this better. Beatrice says lovely. Yes, we have come to the end of tonight, everybody. Beatrice says lovely.
Hi, Beatrice. Thank you. That's
Wow,
my
somebody else
sister-in-law.
says, oh, really? And Lady Bridget says, God bless you.
I love you, Bridget.
I think this has been excellent.
Yeah,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much. Thank you so much, Auntie, for just sharing your life, sharing your thoughts, what you know, what has worked for you. Yes, Ronke says thank you, Ma. Mola says thank you for sharing with us. I think this has really, really, really been good. So, on behalf of everybody who has watched tonight and those who are going to still watch, please, everyone, kindly share. I want to say thank you. So, thank you very, very, very much,
Thank
Ma,
you.
for being here. Thank you for
Thank
sharing your
you.
life.
Love you all. Thank you so much.
God bless you. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, guys, Auntie, thank you. I'll see you again. They say love you, and Rocket says what an awesome session, and thank you very much.
My
Enjoy your
pleasure.
thank you. Thank you so much. Say bye
Yeah.
bye. Say your final bye bye to them.
Bye bye, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. Love
God
you.
bless you, ma'am. Okay. So,
Yeah.
Auntie, before I off with you, I can have you here. I just want to say to everyone that this is part of a series. Next week is going to be the last of this session of this series of wise words on parenting. Would like to thank everyone who has been here so far. Would like to say thank you so much for engaging. Kindly share. It will be on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is Bolanle Enang. Thank you for just being here, for engaging. And like I said, this is done under the platform of Capacity Growth Consult. That's a company that I'm part of. It's a family development and support enterprise. We do a lot of things like webinars, resources, books, courses for parents, working parents, stay-at-home moms, in-between parents, just to ensure that people's lives are stronger and better. So you can check us out on www.capacitygrowth.com. And we also have a Facebook page, Capacity Growth. And we will have the last session of Wise Words on Parenting next week. I've got another fantastic, awesome guest that will be coming. So on behalf of Pastor Tino, would like to say thank you. Lady B, thank you. And thank you from Toronto. It's lovely to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you, Ayaba. Okay, so this is how we say goodbye, Auntie, and that's it. Bye,
Bye.
everybody. Enjoy the rest of your
Bye.
day. Kindly share and let
Yeah.
people know that this was good. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.